I'm a Bulldog supporter. I have been since I was a little boy. The only thing that I find disappointing is the lack of passion at the club.
I'm absolutely gutted for the Footscray Football Club, Western Bulldogs Footy Club. And I'm more gutted for the supporters and the members.
Their club at the moment is non-competitive. They know that by the time their career's finished, nothing good's going to happen. Nothing good is going to happen to them in terms of premiership success and overall success.
Mark Robinson tweeted a little while ago, Ox, Dogs lost captain, coach, number 6, integrity, respect, and generally lost their way. And they bring in Boyd on $1 million a year. Hashtag good luck.
Today's going to be exciting because it does feel really new. It's not kind of the same old, kind of a new team, new coach, and back to the Whitnall. It was pretty cool. I know we're down the lower end of the membership ladder, but I reckon we must be on the top for cars with Bulldog stickers on the back. And I don't live in Footscray, so I say that as a hipster of the inner north. I reckon we're on top of that ladder. I'd like to win the toss as skipper for the first time. Is there a side that I'm meant to, if I win the toss, is there a way that which way did EJ point? Did he point to Barclay Street every time? Because if he did, I want to know that. People often ask you that. Oh, you could have, if you had gone somewhere else, you could have won a premiership. And that might be true, but I love that I've, gone to the Bulldogs. I wouldn't change it for a thing.
The Western Bulldogs are in crisis tonight after their captain Ryan Griffin quit the club and demanded to be traded to the GWS Giants.
Is this a disaster for the club?
Not at all. No, not at all. We're all good.
Bit of a concern when the captain wants to walk out, though.
In my view, something clearly went wrong between Brendan McCartney and, if not almost everyone, certainly a large section of the playing and non-playing football department list from about the middle of the year. Well, I've sometimes likened it to that moment in Apollo 13 where the astronauts actually get to see the damaged part of the rocket ship and most of it's been wiped away. It's this shock moment of, you got to be kidding, it's that bad? And it clearly was.
Western Bulldogs coach Brendan McCartney has fallen on his sword after a player revolt plunged the club into crisis.
Macca has therefore made the decision to resign as senior coach of the Western Bulldogs, effective immediately.
Doesn't get much worse than having your captain walk out of the club and the coach gets sacked.
Been around footy a long time. This is not a crisis. This is a tough week in the office. We always said that, internally we didn't see it as a crisis. We saw it as a tough week in the office. Probably was a crisis.
Whenever the Dogs get into trouble, there's always this sort of suspicion that this time it's terminal, and that looked really serious. But to quote Bob Dylan, they say the darkest hour's just before the dawn.
Peter Gordon gave me a call. He said, mate, a really crucial thing to do. We need to have a coaching panel. We need to select a new coach and we have to get this right. Would you be interested? And I said, hey, look, I'll do it, but, we need to add someone to the list.
Luke Darcy was firm, if not insistent, that Luke was a prime candidate that ought to be spoken to.
Yeah, he made a massive impression on me, Bevo, as a 17-year-old. Not many people understand what you're going through and then take the time out, put an arm around you and go, hey, mate, I reckon you're a really good player. I reckon you're going to have a long career and you'll be fine. So he had that ability to put his arm around you at a time when you thought, no one else has really got an understanding of where I'm at. God, he does.
Luke Beveridge is the Western Bulldogs' new coach, drawn back to the kennel where he used to play. The 44-year-old has had a thorough apprenticeship. After playing for the Dogs, Demons and Saints, Beveridge coached amateur side St Bees to 3 premierships in a row.
In 2005, we got demoted from B grade to C grade.
The coach stepped aside and asked Luke if he'd want to step up and have a go coaching.
That inner belief is the thing that draws you home in every game. I know that to the last second of this game, you blokes will play your heart out.
There's some unbelievable stories about him coming off the ground, 40 points down that first year, rearranging the whiteboard. They kicked 12 goals in a row and win C grade, and it's the greatest moment in St Bede's.
The achievement of going back to back to back in successive grades has never been done before in the VAFA.
It can only come from, the spirit that guy created down there. There's only one link to it, and it all comes back to him.
I think the story starts when Luke walked in the door as coach.
I knew that there was a core group of really talented players that could really play at the level, but there's a lot of boys I just didn't know much about. I didn't have any expectations of what we were going to be able to achieve in the immediacy.
I remember he brought up this Nelson Mandela quote. It was along the lines of not fearing darkness and letting your inner self just shine through, and kind of just a bit about self-belief.
I think the things that he brought in for us was just a change in a few basic philosophies. And when you look at a philosophy in a sentence, it's a very, very simple thing, but in its execution and its permeation throughout a culture, if it's done in its totality, it's a huge shift.
We're a motley crew of characters, but it's an uncomplicated young group of players who just love playing. And Luke was able to harness that.
One tries to go to Garlick. Coming through is West. Gives it to Murphy. Can the youngster make a name for himself? Yes, he can.
I remember Bob, probably second game we played at Carlton. He's just a skinny little run of a kid and just a bag of bones. But, geez, he had some finesse.
I always felt the incident in his early career when he turned up for the team photo with no war written on his arm. I think a lot of the more conservative people in footy, and most people in footy are conservative, I think they stamped his papers as a two-way out, and they never saw the unique potential he had.
No one ever underestimated from a very young age that man had a very clear sense of himself. He's a person that's got the DNA and the culture of the Bulldogs more than any person I've ever met.
I felt he was the captain, not in a formal sense, and he didn't seem to notice what I definitely noticed is he was heart and soul. In 2014, he was trying to keep them together, but from sort of 4 rows back.
I remember sitting in Bali and word came through on our way to lunch that Ryan Griffin had quit the club as captain and he was going to go to GWS. I still remember Murph, one stage over at lunch, he looked up and he said, "I've got to captain the club."
I wanted to be the captain. I wanted to steady the ship. Thought I was the right person to do it. I'm 32. It's my 16th season. Not many guys get lucky enough to play that long. This could all end at any moment. One misstep, one rolled ankle, one jarred landing, and it could all be over. So I kind of put a lot of my energy into enjoying every bit of it.
271 games of footy. He's been invested in the football club for a hell of a long time. And Bob is a unanimous choice across all cross-sections of the football club.
Bevo in place, then Murph, and just the key pillars of the footy club they were taken care of. It was almost, don't worry, trust us, we've got it under control, and that's exactly what they did.
Whatever happens, at least I can say I put my hand up and gave it a go.
It was hard to have hope as a Bulldogs fan. It just got to the point where you're like, well, how can I have hope? After a while, isn't it stupid to have hope? Isn't it stupid for me to get I don't want to be Charlie Brown and Lucy, and every time, he runs up, then Lucy pulls the ball away, and you go, well, yeah, this is the Bulldogs.
I think people thought they'd finish last. I think they thought the Bulldogs were probably 6 or 7 years away from being successful.
We had the team meeting before the game and tactical and positions, and this is the team.
traditional kind of stuff. And then I thought the meeting was just about to finish up, and he said, just prepare yourself. There's going to be an ambush tonight. Now, my initial thought was the opposition, that there's something we don't know about, they're coming to get us. And he said, and it's us. All of a sudden, the horizon lifted a bit, and we went out and we ambushed them.
Dalhouse, 2-on-1, still a chance for Dixon. Oh, there's legs. It looked like it. Going in was Gaff. Dalhouse again. Oh, something from nothing from Luke Dalhouse. Bingo! Murphy. Got Tom Boyd deep. Heads in that direction. Oh, the crowd will like this. Their young man takes the strong mark at last. Last kick for the game. The new captain, Bob Murphy. What a game by the Western Bulldogs.
You know, that's planting a seed in a group. That collective thought. Maybe we're more than what we think we are. Maybe. Singing the song and out on the ground and putting your arms around each other, enjoying the moment, and then someone will just mention it. You know, great winning, we're proud of you, and we got the Tigers next week. And as soon as the names dropped, something shifts again. But yeah, Easter Sunday tomorrow, so you know, Tigers can wait a day, Bunnies tomorrow, and then we'll get to the Tigers. Bunnies first.
What I loved about Bevo, he came in and said to the group, well, there's no limit on what we can do. We're not saying to you we're going to win this year, but let's not have a ceiling on how good we can be. And the confidence was just there in that group of players very quickly. It took us on the outside a bit of time to believe in it, but I think they got it pretty quickly.
Well done, Murphy. Found his man. So too Bontempelli. Jong, back it goes to Honeychurch. They're playing with a bit of confidence in the back six now.
I think our playing style has been built around when you get the ball, take off and play footy.
Well done, Murphy. Read it brilliantly.
They've got this attacking style, but they haven't given up their defence in doing that.
Football coaching is an exercise in risk management. Working out what your appetite is, you know, for certain risks in the game and what direction you're willing to give your players around those risks.
So have a look at this kick. Straight into the middle towards Wood. He's clear. He goes long with the bomb towards Stringer. Perfect football, Sandy.
In a defender, I was probably taught to negate as much as I possibly could and just to stop an opponent, whereas he's coming in and encouraged the side of win the ball back. It's easy to defend when you've got the ball.
He is prepared to break away from the previous mantra of we're not as good as the other side, so we need to be ultra defensive and play man on man and do things as defensively as we can.
It's a centering ball and Picken comes over the top.
You just don't expect Liam Picken to be jumping over the top and doing that.
You're encouraged to play to your strengths. You really get confidence and belief in yourself, and then belief in your teammates comes from that as well.
Not too many coaches make sides better. I know it's only round 4, but right now he is making this team a better team.
You kind of hope everything's going well, you think everything's going okay, but you need a moment in time that actually confirms it for you.
Looking forward to a massive game at the SCG this afternoon. Two teams that are 3-1. The City Swans, we know they're a good side. The Western Bulldogs, well, they are on the march.
It was wet. You're away from home. It's against a top side, one of the great teams of the last 20 years.
A young side went up there and played a really hard, tough, aggressive, bold style of footy, and I think that's when we sort of thought, oh, this could be something pretty special.
Again, it's down to Franklin. Talia with him. Talia battles gamely. Back to Buddy. Out of my way, but they refuse to yield. They won't die. They won't give in. They'll come again. One after another after another.
I mean, that's some of the most riveting, exciting sporting contest I've ever seen.
Hammerbury just eases it into the 50. Adam Goods, Luke Parker. Luke Parker can't get it through. Goods has another crack. They go to ground, hurled out. Harry Cunningham, and the Swans are in front.
And it just showed that we could compete with the very best in those tight situations. We could find that stability emotionally during the game and execute when the pressure was really on.
Stevens tracks it back to the wing. Now Murphy again refuses to be rushed, wants the best for his team, makes it hard for the Sydney Swans. It's there up for grabs. Dalhouse conjured something and it's through.
He's kicked the goal. This is incredible effort from the Western Bulldogs.
I mean, he's an optimistic spirit, and his belief in himself is something that grabs you. That's something you feel. And then when he was telling the group that he believed in us, they were pivotal moments.
We're inside a minute now.
What a game.
Well, everyone is converging on this throw-in. The Western Bulldogs hanging on.
This has been an amazing effort.
We're down to 22 seconds. Stringer
What a
back
battle.
to the square. The Swans, in one big move, could still steal the game. Swans have to win it. They can't make any mistakes from here. It's possible.
What a kick.
It is possible now. McVeigh, 13 seconds.
Just a foot race.
Oh, it's on. Chase. Chase for your life as hard as you can. The flashpoint 5 seconds out. They'll hang on, the Dogs. They are going to hang on. Mark this date down, Western Bulldogs fans. Saturday, May the 2nd, 2015. This is just amazing. Look at these scenes.
How do you not get emotional about footy? That's one of the best. It's the best game best win I've ever been a part of.
The thing I should have said, which I wish I had said, was that it's the best game for this group because it might mean something else for the future. That's why I got so excited.
That game was just really the sowing of the first seed.
Okay, geez, we actually, we could play. We can play.
And he gets through with ease, pokes it up in towards, just forward of the centre, and Bontempelli goes in towards full forward. Guess who's at the back?
He's clutching the knee there.
Clay Smith just did his knee again, guys. This is a sad story. This is horrible for this young man. He's done it twice already, this fella, and he's such a great kid.
To go through it once is hard enough. To go through it twice is harder. To go through it 3 times, you look at Clay and you think what he's been through to hell and back.
It's 9 months of work from the day they hurt themselves approximately to the day they play. I sat on the cart with him going off the ground on a stretcher. I had to look away because I had tears rolling down my face. These guys are members of your family. So when something like that happens, you can't not be affected.
It's not fair, you know. It's not fair. I think, we have this this unjustified expectation that it all evens out in the end. That, you have your turn and everyone has their turn of, being hurt and they come back, and Clay already had his turn. He's had it twice. To lose a teammate, lose a soldier. I don't know what the long-term effect of that is, but it's pretty heartbreaking. And then, we're the best team ever. So, swings and roundabouts. Thanks, honey.
I was probably 11 or 12 years old, watching them at the Whitten Oval on a cold winter's night, training on a Tuesday night or a Thursday night back in the late 1960s. Got to see these guys who were my heroes. Occasionally got into the rooms, get my autograph book filled. I was just entranced by the Footscray team, the team of my town, taking on these big clubs. It was, a sense of David and Goliath, I guess.
There are clubs which every year basically just serve to make up the numbers. If there was one club club which typified that above all others. In the AFL, it was the Bulldogs.
Like even the black and white, when you'd see the Dogs playing, seemed more grimy, and Collingwood had a sheen to them and Richmond had a sheen, but we really did look like if we were coming from something like Coronation Street.
Dennis Cometti wrote an article. He used the term jabronis. The Western Bulldogs are the jabronis. They're there to kind of put on a show and be entertaining, but at the end of the day, they're not really relevant because they know from the outset that they're destined to lose.
The 54 flag, I think to the lion's share of Bulldog supporters, it represented something that happened before they were either alive or old enough to remember. And I guess more and more, it was a symbol of how long it had been since we'd actually achieved anything.
The Bulldogs last won in 1954. That is closer to the 19th century than it is to now.
You've got to learn to love the club and love the story of the club, because if you're just there for success, then you're not going to be happy that often.
Woodscray supporters gathered in front of VFL House late this morning in a valiant plea to save the club.
I'm very pleased to announce today the formation of a new force in VFL football called the Fitzroy Bulldogs.
It wasn't merging, they were taking the Dogs over and just throwing them to the wolves.
They don't want us here. They want to get rid of us. It's just going to go out because little people, little battlers can't make this work. This club doesn't have the power to fight this fight.
Overnight, Irene became the idol of the western suburbs when she agreed to put her name to a Supreme Court action preventing the VFL from forcing Footscray to merge.
Yeah, there have been moments in my life that truly fit within the definition of crisis. Yeah, when I first entered into the fight to save the Footscray Football Club from extinction in 1989, that was a crisis.
Get your stickers here, up yours, please.
I believe that the battle that we fight today will decide not only Footscray's future, but the future of the other struggling clubs and indeed of Victorian football. We have a chance to stop these men in their tracks and quit their plans today.
But they still have to raise $1.5 million.
An elderly gentleman who I'd never seen before pulled out his wallet and took a $5 note out of his wallet and put it on my desk. And then tears welled up in his eyes and he said, "I'll be buggered if I'm going to let my football club die before I do." And I'm 95 years old.
It was a wonderful, wonderful feeling of what footy means to people. Football has this business end of it, but footy has this integrated feeling that weaves its way through groups of people, and it's just a wonderful thing.
Had it not been for some pretty brave people, Peter Gordon, Irene Chatfield, Dennis Gallimberti, we wouldn't be having this conversation.
You don't have those people, you don't have a footy club, simple as that. But I never forget when he took over as president, my first question was to him, why did you take over this role? Why would you want to do something like this? And he just said, because I love the club.
I don't know how much value our players place on history, but you hope that they latch on to little messages, that you hope that they do align themselves with it a little bit and they want to one day look back and know that they've achieved something as a group. And so understanding of history, but the fact that they can make history as well.
Great to have Johnny Schultz in the room, boys. It's a real pleasure to have you here today, John. In John's days and the teams he played in, the week-to-week competition, the wins and the losses, they'd win all the time. But at some point, the men that he played with could look at each other in the eye and just know that everyone in the room trusted each other and you knew you were going to get an even contribution. And that's our challenge tonight, as a group, on this journey, to put in another strong performance. And knowing is just that little bit stronger. And we're becoming the team that we know that we can be. Let's go.
And the Dogs are going to get home here. The Western Bulldogs are going to get home. And the Dogs win against the Saints. And they have won 3 of their last 4.
The biggest perk / the only perk of being captain is that after every game I get an email from John. It's one of the highlights of my week, you know. It's just, you know, it's like the little kid opening the pack of the footy cards again. It's like, check your inbox. John Schultz. Saturday, May the 2nd, 10:52 p.m. Congratulations, Bob, to you and the team. That was a wonderful performance. Bulldog followers are a walking taller with you because of that immense effort. Do not reply. Play with the children. Regards, John. How good's that?
Each generation we seem to find someone who has a similar bent on valuing our history. Currently, Bob is the custodian of our jumper. He will ensure that it's worn with the pride, and he'll ensure that someone is there ready to take it on once he hands it over.
We've had great captains in the past, and he's come in and he hasn't tried to be one of those captains. He's been himself.
He's just like a second dad, really. I mean, he's got me reading books and drinking coffee and all that sort of things.
Everybody has loved Bob, but the question was, well, could he actually be a captain of a club? Well, he's been, in one short year, one of the best captains we've had.
This is their 14th win. So twice the wins as last year. They're twice the team as last year. And the fairy tale keeps growing. It's threatening to be the biggest story of the year. It could be one of the biggest stories of our time.
This won't come as a shocker that, you know, after a game of footy you're pretty knackered, but that was a tough one. It was a physical one. I feel like I've been hit by a bus, to be honest. That's so 90s of you, Frank.
Watching this year him lead the team so well, and it feels like they're all in it together. That's made me really proud. I don't relax the whole time. It's like, don't get hurt, don't get hurt, don't get hurt, don't get hurt, don't get hurt. It's almost like the whole game is like that. They could be 100 points up and still don't get hurt. Just get through this game, just be over. And then siren goes, oh, okay. And then we do it all again in a week.
Yay!
Those hard 10 years are now becoming worth it. But of course you want to go all the way. Anyone that's not saying that's fibbing.
Oh, yes, we are ready to go at the MCG second elimination final. Winner to play Hawthorn here at the G next week. This year, led by a new CEO, new coach, new captain, they have played an exhilarating brand of footy. Won 14 games, finished 6th, and tonight, in their first of the knockout finals, they have a chance to progress, as I say, to next Friday night's game. Scores a level here at the MCG in this sudden death final. Adelaide off half-back, doing it nicely. Here it comes with Walker. Gets rid of his man. Now he starts to work forward with a bounce. Tex has got a one-on-one with Jenkins. It's Jenkins and Hamling. Decides no. I'll go to Cameron instead. And Cameron has taken the mark. 20 metres out in the closing minutes. Adelaide lead by 7 points. What an incredible season it has been for the Adelaide Crows.
It's kind of where it finished, exhausted and shattered.
I was absolutely devastated. I can remember sitting on the floor like one of the players, completely and utterly bereft.
Yeah, it's gut-wrenching. I just said to the players, just to walk out with their heads held high for everything that they've done for our footy club and how far they've come. But yeah, we're obviously really disappointed.
I wasn't ready to let the season go. felt like the team had more. So when it ended, it was like having your arm cut off, but still having the sensation of the arm. I couldn't quite believe that was it. It probably doesn't conjure feelings that I'm particularly proud of, because you're just jealous, basically. You become a bit of a snivelling sort of, I wish that was me and I wish that was us. And that's the thing every year at the grand final. The siren goes and they have the close-ups of players running towards each other and they grab hold of each other, and they know that these friendships they've got are then bound together by something really special forever. And it's the forever bit. And I haven't got that. As hundreds and thousands of footballers haven't got that, but I've got friendships that I think deserve that, but I haven't got it yet.
So 2015 was a rite of passage, and the rite of passage usually ends with heartbreaking final loss. It's critical for experience and it's critical for motivation. As Luke Beveridge had proven that he was a coach to be reckoned with, there's every reason to believe at the end of 2015 that this is a curve on the rise.
Close to 95% right, we're in business. So all the things that we spoke about after the elimination final, all the selflessness with our decision making when the ball's in hand, don't fucking leave it back in, when was it, November? Don't leave it there. Like, now's the time to make sure we can try and get it to where we need it to go.
Let's go, life, no extras, let's go.
Yeah, I was probably a bit more on edge. I think I was probably a bit more on edge, knowing that
we've got to ram it down people's throats that we're a seriously good footy team.
Some good news at the kennel with Tom Liberatore returning to full health after missing the entire 2015 season with a knee injury. The best and fairest winner looks set to return to the team for the opening game of the year.
Well, I mean, he's got this footy club in his bones. I mean, his dad was here for such a long time. His dad's such a part of the history of this place and almost a symbolic person of this place.
Yeah, Liver's dad, no one cared more about winning and no one cared more about the group than him. And he would routinely be in tears after a loss.
He is, close to a mythical figure. I mean, he's the man who was told at every turn he wasn't good enough. And he ends up winning the Brownlow.
I played 3 years with Tony, and then I played, probably 5 years with Tom. Am I really that old? But when you're running out to play and a bit unsure of yourself or what might happen in the next 2 hours, it's nice to look to your left or right and have a Liberatore next to you.
I don't think they feel pain, the Liberatores. I don't think it's part of their DNA that pain doesn't seem to have any effect at all.
His old man still holds the record for playing 16 weeks after an ACL reconstruction. Never happened before and will never happen again.
Maybe it's my mum's pasta or something in the minestrone soup or something.
Always come over Friday night. It was a bit of a ritual, Friday or a Saturday night, not for a game, and carve up on the lasagna and the pasta and actually the meal's the same actually.
I think God bless me with my children still come around and my grandchildren.
Yeah, well, her pride doesn't shy away from Tony. You walk in and DVD's going, she goes, come and look at my son Tony. Tony's the king.
This is Tony. Look how many medals. I need a book, I tell you. Too much to look him for.
Tony's the king. He can't do no wrong, but I'll get there one day.
Positive, a good job.
Positive, thank you.
Don't try to,
Don't try
to do a good job. One goal for me.
Okay.
Yes? Promise.
Prego.
Prego. Grazie. Okay, Thomas, positive.
Positivo. Ciao.
Good job. Ciao. Ciao. Ciao.
Well, they had an outstanding season in 2015, the Western Bulldogs. Can they back it up?
You could sense from our supporters that they were almost bloodthirsty.
Liberatore goes for goal. And he gets it. What a start by the Dogs.
Oh, that was just an outstanding launch from Eastern Moore.
He is amazing. What a way to finish. We're seeing something pretty special here at Etihad this afternoon.
We got out of the blocks, and so that kind of settled my anxiety a little bit. A little bit.
Round 3, 2016, that's one of the calendar days in the 2016 season. It's such an important day because that's the game when the Dogs announce to the footy world that they are top flight and they can take on the reigning premier and they can push the reigning premier right to the edge.
Good, boy. Good.
And it almost wasn't even like, can they beat the Hawks, but can they go toe-to-toe and will they be just sort of, pushed aside? And we got off to a really poor start, is what I remember. And then we clawed our way back and we looked like winners for most of the day.
Coming through his string out, tries to give it across to a teammate, Liberatore. Likes it tough, Bonapelli likes it left. He snaps and puts through another one. And Wallace, wonderful stuff out of the pocket. They're inspired. Boyd, from the side, beaten by McAvoy, follows up and snaps a goal. Tom Boyd comes of age.
My feeling about them in 2015 was that they gave their best, but their best wasn't good enough. The point about that Hawthorn match was they had improved. They'd taken another step.
It's a bulldog bounce. Dalhouse with the outside of the boot, and it's through. Look at the passion.
Back to win 3 points again. Dogs on top of the table coming into this round. Hawthorn on top of the AFL mountain.
And then it all went to shit with about 30 seconds to go.
Through the middle they come. Loose man is Sicily. He's going to get into the right spot. And Hawthorn just know how to get back in front. Oh, no.
Murphy's done a knee in that twist under the ball.
I hope this is not what it looks like. When you grab it like he's grabbing it, I'm fearing something here.
As soon as I felt the pop, did a quick, almost a mental health check of, that's probably the game done, that's my season done, probably career done, won't play in a premiership.
Oh, no, you do know, I feel crooked.
Come on, Bob, get up.
Get up, mate.
And at that point, I don't have the capacity to think through all that, and you kind of go into shock, I suppose.
So even if the Dogs won today, they'd lose now.
Yeah. This is terrible.
How does he handle the moment? The answer is perfectly.
No one was really upset about the result. Like, even if we won, I don't know if we would have even sung the song. It was just such a strange feeling after the game.
All people had in their minds was our captain, Robert Murphy, has done his knee, and will he come back?
We'll maintain our momentum, maintain positivity in our ranks. And we've got to get over, the fact that Bob's going to need Rico. That's enormously sad. right? And that's going to be, I know what you blokes like, I know how that's going to weigh on you. So we've got to find a way to put that in a little box and help inspire us. Right, thanks again for your efforts. Recover well, look after each other. Yeah, I think it's bad news, unfortunately. The worst, I think. So, probably, yeah.
How is he?
He's, as you'd expect, you know, he's, yeah, it's quite shattering, but, you know, we know what sort of person he is and what sort of character he is, so, you know, he'll bounce back, but, yeah, it's sad news.
When Bob went down, we were completely devastated. For the next 2 weeks, I was going through a mindset of, even if we were to win it now, it's not the same. What for?
All ready for the show?
All ready, mate.
If you have an anterior cruciate ligament injury, it's normally a 9-month injury. So by the time you have your surgery, go through your recovery phase and then your rehab, from go to woe, normally about 9 months. If you work out the figures, unfortunately, he misses the year.
Do you want to say? Well, I'm sure he's coming back in a few hours. Me too.
He's been this major factor in getting the team to where they can seriously challenge. And at that very moment, he is struck down with an injury that was going to take him out for the year. Seemed the cruelest irony.
One of the mates, he just sort of flippantly asked me, "Oh, are you worried you won't come back?" I remember going home and crying myself to sleep. It's pretty heavy.
You could just tell that something was missing. Yeah, just that solidarity of like just that little bit of glue left that not actually wasn't there.
It was difficult for all of us to deal with. We're a young group, an emotional group.
I think one of the good things at the club is you're not told you have to be stoic and suck it up. It's completely fine to feel whatever we feel. And then we shrug, we hug, and we go, okay, we've got to go again.
We were quick to acknowledge the fact that, you know, football is a very demanding sport, and sometimes throughout a week or after a game, someone might need a little bit of attention.
You have to pick people up and help them move on, and recognising how we feel about our teammates, but also then recognising that there's still a great opportunity in front of us. The words that describe Bob Murphy, give me one of them. Passion for the club, care, wisdom, selflessness, unconditional. You've got to feel that from each other. Everything is unconditional. That's all anyone could ever ask. That is our challenge tonight. Because if it is the same intensity, the same desire, everything that you've shown so far, good luck, Carlton. Good fucking luck.
Good, and it was not to do it. Here comes Johannesson. Slipped a little handball in. Bontempelli for his third.
Silk.
It was indeed pure class.
Postman or Lynn John's going to look at it. He's going to pick the pocket here and row. He'll pick it up and run into goal. And Lynn John will play.
The Dogs are going to win their third game of the year, 3-1.
The resolve that came out of the group after Murph's injury was just remarkable. The entire playing group were able to resolve the issue, work it through, and then come out the other end and say, okay, We now will move on without him and we'll be ready to welcome him back when he comes.
Initially, I probably was overwhelmed by the weight of being the leader and the captain that they deserved. Bob's an incredible leader and an amazing character, and what I could feel was that they were bloody big shoes to fill. But those feelings were pretty quickly turned into excitement and pride, and through a conversation with Bob, quite calming words of him saying, "Hey, look, mate, all you can ever do is be yourself and it'll always be enough." And he said the boys will follow you to the moon.
Back inside to Easterwood. The defender, the skipper. Is he a goal scorer? It's long, it's good, it's pure, and the Dogs will love that.
Take the good parts that I can that, have worked for Bob, but, finding my way of doing it. I guess the exciting part was going on that journey and having the support around me to be able to do that.
He's not typical in any way. He's a total original. He's very, very emotional, but he's not erratic. He's very zen, but he's not a wimp.
What you see is what you get, and he's always honest and genuine, and he's totally his own person. And he's a weirdo, so he be's a weirdo. That's
What's a good conductor? Medal, yeah. What medal's the best? Go back. Are you ready to go to me?
I've never really believed that it's necessary to be totally serious. Finding what suits the group and their personalities is every coach's challenge.
Anyone got a gag?
He started off, with a couple jokes before every session, and footy's so hard mentally. You need to have that sort of fun in it, otherwise, you lose interest in playing.
When Bevo came on, I think they were really needing to have that emotional stability and to have that care. It's not a soft and fluffy thing, it's actually a smart thing to have people happy. Most people I know, if they really love their workplace, they work harder.
Seconds keep rolling. 4, 3, 2. Dogs win it epic.
The halfway mark, the Dogs are in the conversation. Their win-loss ratio is impressive, but it still feels like a closed shop. Is Hawthorn and Sydney, they rule the competition, and there's no reason at the halfway mark to think that an uprising can topple the Empires.
It's too hot, it seems, for Kobe Stevens.
Real problems here for a Bulldog who's gone down clutching his right knee. I really hope that's not Clay Smith.
Jack Redpath does his ACL.
I knew I did it instantly. I don't feel sorry for myself or anything like that, but it did hurt a lot deep down that sort of you think, why me a bit.
Margin is 12 now. John gets it through to Dunkley, and that's created from Smith to Ross. Until then,
great show.
Savage.
And he's hurt himself. He's in real trouble, boys, and he's in real pain. The game will have to stop here.
This is turning into a disastrous night for the Dogs.
For the stretcher.
Oh, heavens above, I can still see it in my mind's eye. Eddie had that night. Just awful for Mitch.
Well, he's actually kicked the back of his leg, hasn't he? With his other foot.
Mitch had a fracture called a boot top fracture. The bones were snapped in two. He was in enormous pain.
It was major trauma.
We wanted to try and get Mitch to hospital as soon as we could, but it was difficult to move him. I think for the players to come in and see that was quite emotional.
That's probably one of the worst nights been involved in with football. Poor Mitch was waiting for the ambulance on the still on the stretcher in the rooms, and he was obviously in a horrific amount of pain. And whilst Bevo was giving his closing address and we're in the meeting room, you can hear him
crying out in pain.
It's heartbreaking in here. I've never seen anything like it. They've just wheeled Mitch Wallace out on the stretcher, and he's screaming. Every player is crying. Bob Murphy is down here, and he's weeping uncontrollably. This is. I've never seen anything like this.
I thought that would be the end of their season that night. How much can a club endure in terms of blows to the soul?
It's all our people's challenge to pick them up and be supreme optimists and know and believe that we can still be there at the end and be a challenger. And as long as we believe that, then we'll be okay.
At the Western Bulldogs, we're not really frightened of emotions. Bevo's quite prepared to, if he feels it, even if it's in a presser, he'll allow it to happen.
I'm an emotional person, but with our group and seeing the way they care about each other, that's something that I suppose tugs at the heartstrings a little bit, but it's my prerogative and my responsibility to be strong, which I'm not being now.
I cannot tell you how much respect he gets from the players when he allows that to happen.
Show your emotions and not hide away, and I'd probably show my emotions more than many, but that doesn't mean you can't come up the next week and give your best performance.
Boy, there he is again, McRae too long, but a hand passed away as he was falling to the ground.
Someone from behind tackled me down and was trying to convince myself that I was fine to go, but once I pushed off, I could feel a big sharp pain in my hamstring.
Yeah, McRae is definitely out of the game, Lingy. I think he has a little right hamstring strain.
Jackson McRae did a hamstring tendon that is normally probably an 8-week injury.
He comes again, left the ball behind. Biggs once more, tries to soccer it through. Liberatore went down, picked up by Dalhouse.
When Libba went down, the injury that he'd sustained was an injury to a syndesmosis.
They can ill afford this man to come off the ground. Liberatore in the hands of a trainer.
The little fibular bone next to the tibia bone, the ligament that binds the two bones together had been torn. He said, Zimmer, just stick a bit of local on me, I'll be right, send me back out. This is a bad injury. This is an injury that keeps most people out for 4 to 5 months.
That's going to make it hard. And not that any of us lost belief, but it was hard to ignore that, we're kind of going on the bones of our arse here, and then we lose 2 of our most important players.
Redpath, Wallace, Murphy, and then Tom and Jackson, I felt was a bridge too far.
I had Tony Liberatore down in the rooms, Libba's dad, crying. I went up to him and said, Libba, pull your head in. I said, you need to support your son. We're going to do our best to get him up for the finals. It's very important that we take a very positive approach. There's no negativity to be spoken to any of these players.
We're playing finals in 5 weeks and we've just got player after player going down, but we've got to get through it and we've somehow got to be resilient.
We've got to remain upbeat. Some fucking great individual efforts, great team persistence. Everyone in the room, unbelievably proud of you. I don't know what the end of it looks like as far as ladder positions, but we're going to be there at the end of it. We've got to be there at the end of it. Who knows what can happen?
Every time they lost a player, and you thought, well, that's it, that's it. They, someone else stepped up and they kept going. That's one of the amazing things about them.
As coaches and as people who support you, we back out 22 elite players. And we don't say, what if we could have Tommy, or what if we could have Jack McRae, or what if we could have Martin. No. We value every one individual as much as the next.
People were going down left, right and centre, and young kids were stepping up and having big impact on the game.
Little kick around the corner on this occasion by Dunkley is very, very impressive indeed.
every week I looked at the guys that were missing out. I take that out there and sort of try and put my best foot forward, not only for myself but for them as well.
Everything you do for each other, you inspire each other, and it's an extension of that name much inspire other people.
We grew up in an era, and they didn't know any better. And it's John Kennedy standing, don't think, do, and it's Barras going off his head. And I think we all sat there in those team meetings and went, this just doesn't work. It's madness. You don't need to abuse people to actually get them to want to play well for you. In fact, it probably has a negative effect on most people.
I think Luke's got the old school and the new age. He's a motivator. He can deliver words that move you. But without that highly tactical edge, the emotion wouldn't nearly have been enough.
Oh, Easton Wood's got a problem.
Landed awkwardly on that left ankle, I think.
Well, this is the last thing they need now.
Coming into the final series, it can't be done. Could they actually field a team that was going to be capable of winning an elimination final back in Perth? They are as far outsiders as you can have in an 8-horse race entering that final series.
The Western Bulldogs could bring back as many as 5 players for Thursday night's do-or-die final against West Coast. The Dogs haven't won a game in Perth since 2010, but are confident of causing an upset.
Sitting back and looking at the bye that we've just had, the week off, it probably has suited us best out of most teams because of the injury factor.
Probably our greatest risk was probably Jackson. We had obviously Woody with his ankle.
He couldn't jump. So we went to the coach and said, we think we can get him through, we can get him up to play, but you're not going to have him leaping up and taking the set marks like you're used to. And the coach said, fine, I'm happy to change the game plan.
There was a bit of discussion amongst the doctors of, we think that Tom is a 10 to 20% chance to get back, but we're going to tell him that he's some kind of chance because we think it'll be better for him to believe that he's a chance even if he's not. But, yeah, Pete, you need to know. He's cooked.
The advantage of Tom is that he's a Liberatore. So he's like his old man. He's as tough as they come.
He said, I'm going to play, I'll be right. I said, you're joking? He said, no. Oh, geez, good luck.
Bevo's attitude was like, well, we're going to go for it. Boydie came up to me and said, Zim, what are the chances of the 5 boys coming back this week? And I said, look, to be honest with you, mate, they'll all be available. It was like you could get a feeling of euphoria amongst the players.
And that's the psyche of what happens with these guys. And that's why it's so important that you've got to maintain that positivity.
Kept hearing about, how long it's been since we've won interstate, never won an interstate final, how hard the trip is to Perth.
The main Dogs travelling party has just arrived here in Perth. Another 18 players to go with the 7 that arrived yesterday. Liberatore, Roughhead, McRae, Wood, all back for the Bulldogs.
In my heart of hearts, I couldn't see how they could beat West Coast. No one beats West Coast at home. It just doesn't happen. The form they were in, Libba coming back from an injury, McRae coming back from injury.
The West Coast Eagles' form going into it had been stellar. They were seen as the form team of the finals.
West Coast Eagles in terrific form, charging into these finals. By contrast, the Bulldogs, well, they've been dogged by injury. They've lost 3 of their last 6, but they get some quality back tonight.
Big night, boys, big night.
When the temperature goes up and the stress is at its absolute maximum, he's got a steady hand.
Sitting on the couch the other night, on a Tuesday night, with my 2 boys, Nara and Kai, and they were watching Fox footy, and there was an interview that Bob and I did that day, and we were watching it. I was sitting next to 2 boys, and one young bloke says, "Is this live, Dad?" Having a laugh and bringing you a little bit closer together. As long as we're all on the same sort of even keel emotionally, we can build up into the game. Our mandate tonight is to win our first final together. It's a big challenge. Everyone believes in you. I think you believe in everyone around you. It's not going to be easy, we know that. Right, but we've got 22 and all of us around you, crewing this ship tonight. Right, a unified attack on the West Coast Eagles tonight. Let's get ready. 5 minutes, boys.
It would be hard to tip the Western Bulldogs tonight on their form here. They've lost 7 straight on this ground. Away we go then. The finals journey is underway. Opening bounce. Roughhead taps it down. Liberatore right into the action.
Again, a little dangerous. Liberatore, the smallest man in that contest. Darling at the front, mops up, goes back, long, strong, and makes the Bulldogs pay again.
They got early momentum. The crowd become loud. And we've got a choice to make. Do we go into our shells or do we stand up bigger and bolder than ever? In all our lives, we only really achieve when we get out of our comfort zone and face our fears, and who knows what's on the other side.
Hunter sends it back inside 50. Picken grabbed it, and there they go. The Dogs are away.
John, Dalhouse. Now Daniel fires it long down towards full forward. It bounces through for a goal.
Chance here, Liberatore! Libba back in the team. They've kicked 4 in a row.
A couple of times Libba did some stuff, and Jacko as well, and Woody took a few marks, and just seeing those guys coming back after that long was inspiring.
Comes across towards Daniel. Now Dalhouse snaps a goal.
The longer the night went, the clearer it was that the Bulldogs' plan was too much for the Eagles to deal with, and their commitment to the cause was more than the Eagles could match.
Bontempelli, Liberatore, Boyd in everything at the moment, taken head on by Barassi, kept going, brilliant, Smith, snaps, and goals! Massive for the Bulldogs.
Silence here at Subiaco.
You couldn't hear a West Coast player. You could just see how shocked they were.
Look at the coach. He cannot believe it. The Dogs lead by 32 points. They now lead away from home by 38.
They smashed them. They belted them out of the park.
This for a 44-point lead. In their wildest dreams, could the Bulldogs fans have imagined this? It is one of their most glorious nights of football. The Bulldogs, they keep kicking away.
The Western Bulldogs have won a famous victory.
This will be as enjoyable as it gets then. An interstate win. Enormous night.
I came back thinking that's as good a win in a final on the road as I've ever witnessed.
I think it gave them absolute true belief that, okay, we've actually now set the scene for us, and the expectation is we can win it.
We're against Hawthorn, who were the benchmark side for the last however many years and seem to have, most of Melbourne besotted with them.
The rain comes in. There's the final siren.
Our last grand final was the Hawthorn grand final.
And Hawthorn are premiers for the year 1961.
That was their first. And so they'd won 13 or whatever, and we hadn't been back since then. So I felt like that was a curse. Last year was 16. It was the reverse of 61. Therefore, it was the year to reverse the curse.
I spoke to the West Coast coach today. Still shell-shocked. Did not see it coming. They don't either. They won't know. They won't know what hits them. How do we light our fire? How do we light our fire that they have to run into?
Hawthorn, Friday night, MCG, packed crowd. We were ready to rumble.
Underdogs, no fear. We can beat these guys.
attacking. They're coming at the moment. Slapped out wide by Roughhead. Forcing a passage. Montempelli comes to Hunter. Pulls it back towards the middle. And Smith. Clay Smith in he comes. A man for the moment. The margin is under a goal approaching half-time.
To have the reigning premiers on the ropes at half-time in an MCG on Friday night was pretty amazing.
And then brings the ball back to a pretty good spot again. He's got it up it. Launched himself. Hunter lurking, left footer goes to McRae. Oh, Stringer. Yes! He's got it. He's kicked through. Terrible handball. Mitchell running the gauntlet. Massive problems here for the Hawks. Mitchell can't get it out. Liberkin, you know who. Of course it's him. It's him. You know who it is.
I have a vivid memory of a team that hadn't had much finals experience at all, that consciously that didn't matter.
Running hard to Hodge. Oh, brilliantly cut off by Bontempelli. Oh, this is a real dagger. It's like the young buck against the old buck, isn't it? It's the young champ and the old champ.
It was that moment where Bontempelli stripped Hodge. If you want a visual metaphor for a changing of the guard, it's one great champion passing it to the next.
Rough-headed Bontempelli takes a wonderful mark against Hodge of all comers.
Probably that sentiment really helped us because it was the changing of the guard per se that we probably gained out of that. Well, yeah, maybe it is time.
Pickens been deadly around goal. Bouncing it home. He's kicked three. Oh, what a night. What a night for them. It's been 55 years to the day they've won consecutive finals.
Great performance, outstanding. What does it mean to me? What does it mean to us? We're to a preliminary final, boys. We're down to the last four. Imagine what's going on out there with all your supporters and your fan base. Imagine how euphoric they will feel. Put it in a bottle, we'll take it to Sydney next week.
It's the toughest game of the year. It's the one. Everything hinges on that one. No one remembers who lost a preliminary final.
The club survived plenty of financial pain. Supporters have also endured lots of finals pain. They've lost 7 preliminary finals since 1985.
In 85, go back to 85 at Waverley.
Down at the centre circle, who's going to get it? Down to Loveridge, there's the sale. And Hawthorn will be through to the 1985 grand final against Essendon.
92, we couldn't get over Geelong.
Then the ones in the late 2000s.
1997 in particular should have been a grand final.
Usually a thumping kick. Starting to bend back. It's bending back. He's got it.
You know, I think we were about 6 goals ahead of Adelaide at half-time.
Great way to go in at half-time.
But it went into this uneasy holding pattern.
Jarman's at full forward. He jumps and
And then I see Libba's one missing right. And to this day, people tell you it was a goal, it was a goal, it was a goal.
Everyone knows it was a goal, guys. I hope right now they're going to footage of that and they're just showing how it's a goal because it was clearly a goal.
No, it wasn't. And then time just stood still.
35 metres out. The Crows are in front. Siren. Crows are in the grand final. But the reality is the Dogs have missed out.
We just blew an opportunity of a lifetime, and I always thought I was young enough that it was going to happen again.
Our story over such a long period of time kind of felt like we were We were there to support the competition, but never really to bask in its glory.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Australian Football League and our premier partner Toyota welcome you to the first preliminary final here at Spotless Stadium.
It felt different to a preliminary final. It felt different to 97, felt different to 98 and to 2000, mainly because it wasn't at the G.
Club was going to try as much as they can to get the ground full of Bulldog supporters. It holds 22,000 people. The hope was that 3/4 of them would be a Bulldog crowd.
You could feel the level of support. We knew that a lot of people were either driving up to Sydney or travelling up to Sydney to watch.
There couldn't have been a greater contrast in the identity of the two clubs. New franchise club, GWS Giants or whoever they wanted to brand them, and the Western Bulldogs, formerly the Footscray Football Club. We'd done the harder yards. We'd done it for longer. We've done it with more tears. We've done it with more setback. Don't ever, you young upstarts, come up here and start telling us this is a new game, because it ain't.
What another great opportunity. Nothing changes in our approach to it. Doesn't matter what the occasion. The formula's right. But our challenge is to get it to the level that we've got it the last couple of weeks. I guarantee you if you do, there's a big reward at the end of it. That's a grand final week. Let's go.
Absolute full house here at Spotless Stadium, Western Sydney.
It was weird because I think when we came out it was a louder roar than when GWS came out. It was like we had more supporters there, even though it was our away game.
That's not the normal kind of way these things go for an away final.
It was amazing. It was like we're playing it with Noble.
The atmosphere and the game just fit perfectly.
All right, we're ready to go here. Prelim final footy. Spotless Stadium. GWS, Western Bulldogs.
It was quite physical and
Bit of a push and shove here.
quite intense from the get-go.
Tried to get the better of us physically, being a younger team. I think that was an area they might be able to exploit.
And here come GWS from everywhere. This has been on all quarter.
We had our people there, we had our tribe sort of in the stands ready to fight with us. We were able to feel comfortable in an environment that was meant to seem uncomfortable.
And now coming through, Clay Smith for the first goal of the prelim final. Clay Smith delivers for the Bulldogs.
He started us off in the first quarter and continued it all through.
Smith into an open goal.
Clay's a big part of the spirit of this team, and he played the game of his life when we needed him to most.
McRae, there's the man you call Richo. He's got 4 goals in the first half, and that is a big moment for the Bulldogs.
It was just a surreal feeling, that game. Found out on the Monday night, one of my best mates passed away, but I knew that he would want me to play. He wouldn't want me to just stop playing because of how much it meant.
You could tell that he was pretty emotional before the game, and you can tell the way he played that he was playing for his good mate, and that's another thing that he's been through. I mean, he's been through so much.
Put it into context, Clay may have never played another game after that third knee and still been one of the most inspiring stories I've ever seen up close at the Bulldogs.
Goal for goal battle in the first half of footy. You get the feeling this one's going right to the wire. GWS down by 1 point. Delight amongst the fans. Green sends it long, and out the back they've got Nark, and then coasting across Rory Lobb. He's sure he connected pretty well with it all the way. He's sure. 3 in a row. They lead it by 11. Their biggest margin of the game. This is an issue now.
They got on top and I thought, oh no, we better get this next one or it could be all over.
And then just came back to that belief. How much do you want it?
Through the gave it a run to pressure. Bonampelli shrugged off the tackle. Can he regain his composure? No, he can't. Dixon was there. G ran into a head-high tackle. Smith, I thought, was a little unlucky not to get it free. Knock on by Stringer. Comes to Dalhouse. Took a bounce. Run down from behind. Still got the handball away. An almighty crash by Smith. Picked up by Daniel. Goal. Play of the year from the Western Bulldogs. It's got them out of their seats. Unbelievable persistence from the Dogs to claw their way back into this game.
That is what football's all about. You know, you've got a choice to make there, and neither player shied away from that contest.
I became such a fan of my own footy team. I was just full of pride of not just how hard they tried, but just the way they play for each other.
1 point the margin.
10 metres, hold it.
And GWS strike first. 45-metre kick, got it bending back the right way. Oh, yeah. GWS by a game-high 14.
It's part of our mind that always says we're going to get let down again and it's going to happen, and it's going to happen to this new upstart side that the AFL's gifted everything to.
Everything inside me is just going, no, we'll get cheated out of it in some way. Something Bulldogs will happen.
Here's Boyd, goes deep, good-looking kick. Smith the danger mark taken there by Dixon. Dead-eye Dixon gets up, runs, plays on. A momentary lapse by GWS.
I don't know if they can, but here's what I do know. They think they can.
It's not going to go away, the Doggies. Halfway mark of the final term. The winner plays in the grand final. It's a 5-point ball game. Got it to McRae on his left, slid the handball back inside. Under pressure was Dunkley as he got the strength to bust it. Went for the fresh area out of the middle. Johannesson.
I see a bit of grass, you know, I'm taking it no matter what.
Johannesson, he's a lively player. He can run. Here he goes. Pressing ball to Bonampelli. Bonampelli, no one between he and the goal. Paddles it up. Gets back onto his left foot to hit the front. The Dogs are in front by a point.
That game I was on the edge of that game.
Daniel beat the ball in front of goal. Cordy's got another. They've kicked it. They've hit the front.
I knew it was going to go either way.
GWS to stay in the hunt, and they do. 1 point down. Dude, look at the Dogs fans holding their collective breaths.
You know, there was tears and there was hugs and there was all the way through that last quarter as it sort of went from victory to defeat.
Scores the level in the prelim final. Pick and smother was enormous. He goes back in, flicked it out to Liberatore, up and under job. Dunkley's the one. Dixon pushed off it. Big pack. Who can get it front and centre? Bonampelli's there. Liberatore. McRae's out the back. He'll hit McRae. Haynes gets there. No, it's McRae. So Jack McRae. 3:21 remaining. There was huge doubt whether this man would play another game this year. Now, the biggest kick in his young life.
There's not many times you get to just pause and think of the magnitude of the situation, and it was probably the most important kick in my life coming up. I was praying that it come straight off my boot.
Can he handle the pressure?
Please kick it.
Draws breath directly in front to give the Bulldogs a 6-point lead. He's done it. The Dogs are in front by a goal, and they come from everywhere. Dogs by 5. Grand final berth. They need a clean ball here, the Giants. 40 seconds remaining. Up they fly. If they go inside 50, they've just about got it. Over the hand of Boyd. Boyd to Stringer. Stringer can go all the way. He kicks to the middle. And Dixon marks. I think the Dogs are going to get there now.
I've been wanting to say this for as long as I can remember. The Bulldogs goes through to a grand final.
The siren will sound. A 55-year drought ending. The Dogs are in the grand final. Wow. What about that? 20,090 days since their last grand final. And the Dogs have made history.
To finally do it
and to finally realise we're going to the grand final. Just shaking our heads. We didn't know what to say. Well, what just happened?
That's when it all kind of crystallised for me of how big it all was. I'm thinking about poor old me, I won't be out there. It was, we're there.
Our supporters, imagine how happy their trips are going to be up to here. You made so many people happy anyway with what you've done. To them, it probably would have gone away and said, hats off, we're going again, boys. We're in the big dance. We've got another one left in us? Yeah. We reckon you have. I know you reckon you have. It's not before our time, it is our time. And you guys have earned it.
The excitement around Grand Final week any year is huge.
Walking around the streets of Yarraville and Seddon and Footscray, you could really feel, all the supporters.
Seeing the fences painted and the shop fronts painted was, you've kind of felt like a rock star.
And you're so used to seeing, 0, maybe 4 people standing up on the balcony, and then you get 10,000 in or whatever, and the whole ground's packed. People getting up and looking over the windows and having a look at the size of the crowds.
It was all those daydreams that all of us have had about how would that look like if we, if it was grand final week and they get everyone to train, what would that look like? And the reality was better. How often can you say that reality is better than your dreams?
How many times have people either come to the Western Oval, Whitten Oval, Etihad Stadium to watch us play, just living to understand what that moment might feel like?
Stunning. The idea, after all of those decades, that we would reach that point.
Unbelievable experience in that car. I think it was 180,000 people. It's insane.
It felt like if you weren't a Sydney supporter, you were a Bulldog supporter for that day.
All that losing creates a lot of tension and a lot of pain, and it puts stress on so many relationships. And I was getting the sense of this team this year was healing some of that. And people were coming back.
Peter was pretty keen to get people who give incredible service to the place that perhaps not many people would have known of.
Each and every one of you is special to the club and special to us, and it's hard to encapsulate just what a unique gathering this is. It's a group of people who are bonded by a love of the club, which has at times been important and indeed critical to the very survival of the club. And we've been through the hardest of times, And the reason why it was too tough to die was because of the people in this room.
Every one of you have bled for the red, white and blue.
I know my father would be very pleased, very proud.
I'd like to thank all the supporters and members that have, and you shouldn't do this, that have done so much for this club.
We have been built by a range of individuals who have done wonderful things for us, but I now see a sense that no, we are no longer that. We are the collective core of the Footscray Bulldogs, Western Bulldogs, who can do some wonderful things.
Last week, we all felt how tense it was when we knew we'd won and the siren went. Granny, I don't know if you can remember, but you grabbed hold of me and said 2 words that will stay with me forever, and you just said, "We're there." So that set me off. But that was only the first chapter, and then we went out on the ground, and that's how we all live this footy thing. This is the inner sanctum, and there's circles within circles, but then the bigger one around us, of course, is the other supporters and the clan or the tribe, whatever you want to call them, and having that moment with our players and then seeing our supporters and what it meant to them was too much for a halfback flanker to handle. So when we win tomorrow, God help us all.
For us to make it to the grand final, give ourselves an opportunity to win the Premiership Cup, it's enormous. And, you know, I often half find myself thinking that that's definitely going to happen. But there's always that other party that tries to bring you back to reality. But here we are, you know. I think a lot of people have had visions of achieving the ultimate achievement, and here's our chance.
I was just waiting on the platform, trying to keep out of the rain. That's what you get when you're waiting for the football train. You gotta know who your friends are.
That's your grand final footy record.
You gotta know.
You can't put into words what this actually feels like.
I never thought I'd get to see one. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Today's our day. We've just got to cherish this moment for the rest of our life.
This game gets its claws into you, whether you like it or not, I think. If you hang around it long enough, and this club as well, I think, it does leave a mark like a tattoo.
Yesterday, probably got an idea of what Beatles felt like when they were in Australia. It was amazing. You basically felt like rock stars, and you deserved it. You know, it was a big, big day for our film club. It's going to be uncomfortable today, boys, isn't it? But we've run into the fight, into the fury, into the cauldron where the heat is. We've done it 3 times. We need one more. We need one more. Whether it's Kings of Leon, whether it's the Beatles, whatever your favourite band is, you need to play guitar today, mate. You need to play your trumpet. You need to bang your drums just wiki. Whatever your strengths and you start. You've faced the adversarial crowds. You've faced the external noise. Everyone out there is for you. You are the rock stars on the stage. So bring your gifts, bring your instruments, bring your voice, your song, your noise. Let's take our fury and even 22 to the Sydney Swans, and we complete our year, boys.
There are so many people here very quick Western Bulldogs, Timmy. We were just looking around. They're definitely outnumbering the Swan supporter. We know all the neutrals are loving the Doggies today.
Going into the grand final, I didn't even think about not tipping the Bulldogs. At that stage, it sort of felt like it was ordained.
It's on the line and away we go. Opening bounce of the game.
We knew it wasn't going to be a normal game. It was just a massive dogfight.
There is no next week.
It's for keeps and it's forever.
On Jack with that courage. He knew Lingy what was coming. He knew, he saw what he had to do. He gets the first goal of the 2016 Grand Final. Liberatore, he's going to spread it. Liberatore, dangerous. Heaney a chance here. Oh, well done, Wood. Used his courage and a brilliant kick by Hunter.
The great fear of any big game is getting blown out of the water in the first quarter.
It's a very good kick. How long since they've been in front of the Grand Final, I wonder?
So come quarter time in the Grand Final, we're with them.
Bontempelli, brilliant sidestep. Kick to full forward. Boyd's got it. And run around the left. He does. And nails it.
Peckin with a chance. Runs onto the loose ball. Beats it back. Hunter. Back to Peckin. Snaps across his body. Don't tell me. Things falling into place for the Bulldogs.
We had all the momentum, but then Sydney just fought back and...
They really got on top of us. Josh Kennedy was on a bit of a rampage at that point.
Kennedy, good kick, great kick. They're in front. They're back in front.
45 plays 43. Sydney on top after the Dogs led by 4 points at quarter time. Unrelenting this game so far.
For me, the courage in football isn't backing back into a pack or putting your head over the footy. It's just putting yourself out there, doing what you can for your teammates.
Everyone pushes through adversity, but there's certain guys who go through that and you'd never know.
Dale Morris is just one of the best blokes you could ever meet in your life.
It's 1-on-1 on the wing. Make that 2-on-2. Morris involved there as well for that takeaway.
When we played Fremantle round 22, came in after the game, said, Zimmer, my back's a bit sore, had a look at him.
The first 48 hours after that, he could not move. He couldn't bend down to pick his kids up at home, and then played the entire final series with 3 fractures in his lower back.
He would just say, yeah, it's just something you do. It's just what you do. I'm paid to do it.
Everything that I do is for the players because I don't want to let my teammates down. I'll throw my body and put it on the line to help them. And I expect that from my teammates.
And the ball back for his team. That's the reason why Smith's having a shot. 4 goals last week. 1 goal in the grand final. The Dogs back in front. The Bulldogs are going to leave it at 3/4 time.
We've been in this situation so many times. You remain calm, all right, but you still need the fury, don't you? Yeah. You still need the phone ball tightness, the intensity, no broken tackles, no boys harder to work with this. You keep the positive voice up, we play to our system, our source press is critical, and you score when you win the game. Come on!
Every possession, every contest vital now.
I don't care if you don't touch the ball once, if you don't do anything, just tackle, jump around, smother, just do anything.
No one wanted to dare think about what it would feel like winning, and you definitely didn't want to think about what it would feel like losing.
Hatley on the wing to space. Franklin is surging after this one, but he gets there. The angle opens up for the left footer, and the champion nails it. Never deviated. It's a point of difference. A grandstand finish.
We'd actually confronted our fears. Our story got to the last page where we'd run towards a fire and we were already in the fire. It was then how long we could put up with the heat.
He'd love to snare a goal in the last quarter. Swans may still get out here, Lloyd. Oh, terrific by Biggs again. Dunkley's hands, McRae. We know he's so good with ball in hand. Dunkley, Biggs going hard. Mills gets down low. No free kick, has to pop it up. Biggs in there again. Ball almost out to Cordy. Not quite. It is now. Doesn't quite get a kick. Daniel, still Daniel. Boyd, no goal. Ball about 15 metres away. Biggs, he started it all. Can't quite finish it. Ball comes out. Dunkley gets it back. McRae, beautiful kick. Gives McRae clean a chance. Picken, Picken, yes. Liam Picken nails it. How big was that? Incredible. It was 62 years of frustration, all coming in 1 minute.
7 points the difference. This is Mills. Kicks it back towards the wing.
Ball got kicked to Buddy, and he went to take it, and I was able to do enough that he had to take a second grab at it. When he took the second grab, I took another swipe at the footy and was able to get a finger on it. The ball popped out to him, and all I could see was Buddy in space. My immediate thought was, oh no, what have I done?
Kicks it back towards the wing. In front, Franklin, knocked away by Morris. Naismith sold a teammate into trouble. Quick thinking by Kennedy. And Franklin was run down. Tom Boyd's got it. Tom Boyd goes long. How will it bounce? The stadium holds its breath. It's a goal. And the western suburbs erupt.
I mean, come on, like, could not get better. He's got a broken back and he tackles, you know, the best player in the competition, and the ball spills out of his hands and it goes to our $1 million recruit in the middle of the ground.
I didn't hear the whistle. I just picked it up and turned around, and the first thing I saw was an open goal square, and I kicked it as hard as I possibly could. To feel the emotion from the stands, it was an amazing moment. It's probably the highlight of my career.
It was great reward to see someone who had obviously been vilified a little bit in the press go out there and play the best game of his entire career on the biggest stage that he's ever going to play on.
I was so proud of Tom. We were home then. We weren't losing that grand final.
Good kick, gives Pickett a chance. It's over. It's all over. The drought. The dam wall is busted. It's 62 long years.
You know, you've invested so much for a period of time, and the great unknown is, you know, can you pull it off? And at that point, when you realise you have, it's hard to describe.
Down comes Luke Beveridge. The underdogs are on top of the world.
What a story. Australian football's had so many romantic, wonderful stories, and this is as good as it's ever been.
Love you so much.
Luke Beveridge, the Western Bulldogs football club.
This group of players are just incredible. Their hearts are so big. To you, the fans, our supporters, we've ridden on your wings, really.
Well, as if the story wasn't all good enough, as the coach then casts the whole damn thing into folklore in one gesture.
Before we go, I'd like to get Bob Murphy up on the stand. This is yours, mate. You deserve it more than anyone.
It was a beautiful moment, and I'll be forever grateful to him for including me. It really does speak to who Luke is as a coach, but also who he is as a man, that, you know, even in those moments, he's still thinking about other people.
This has been an achievement born out of the energy of so many people. I suppose that was just acknowledging that Bob had as much to do with it as anyone.
That moment, by that act, they signalled to Australia that this premiership was about something seriously different. Bob Murphy had a part that no one had ever really played before.
Please welcome John Schultz to present the Premier's Cup to Easton Wood and Luke Beveridge and Bob Murphy.
For one team to be denied so long, to have been so close, to have been almost extinct, merged, non-existent, a footnote in history, and we're not. And we're not.
You know, to be surrounded by so many faces that you'd seen crying for other reasons to now have just tears of joy. There was a real sense that, yeah, this happened, and it happened how it was meant to happen.
I was actually telling the crowd, come on the ground, get out here. Don't sit over there. I'm on here, I didn't even play. That medal is for every Bulldogs player that couldn't be one of the 22. So it's for Mitch Wallace, it's for Jack Redpath, it's for Josh Pruden, it's for John Schultz, it's for all of them. That's what the medal means to me now, and that makes sense to me, and it kind of fits.
You know how much emotion and how much history is attached to this amazing feat of winning our second Premiership Cup. Every one of you on the journey has dug deep to believe, to actually to galvanise as a group, and you've all contributed to it, and that takes courage. To actually think that we can go somewhere, to actually think that it's going to end up in a premiership.
The glory in sport is when nobody believes something can happen, and given all that the football club had been through over such a period of time, it rolled in together to almost make it the quintessential perfect sporting fairy tale.
I think that's one of the things that I've loved, listening to how much it's meant to people, listening to how much it's meant to families and how it's brought them close together, and hearing how other people describe it, because I'm not sure how to.
I did an interview before, I think my 250th game was in 2014. So before all this, before we ever met. And I think in that interview I said, I think I've had the full experience, the full AFL experience. Whoa! Talk about getting it wrong.
Bulldogs fight and Bulldogs rock. We give our very best. But you can't beat the boys of the Bulldog breed. Team of the mighty West.